Welcome to Rank Rhino, where you can learn it all. Today, we'll be going through the top 10 movies that never really lived up to their hype. In this list, we're going through movies that had all eyes on them before they were released, but never achieved much success once they hit cinema theaters. Some of the films on the list were poor attempts at milking a successful franchise, while others, simply put, bombed box offices horribly. Number 10. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Not as easy as it used to be.
Well, we've been through worse.
Yeah? When?
Starting with one of the most beloved franchises in commercial film history, the first three installments in the Indiana Jones franchise are widely considered some of the best adventure movies ever produced. With that in mind, expectations for the fourth movie, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, were through the roof before its theater release in 2008. And many people weren't left all too happy after watching.
Power over the mind of man.
Be careful. You might get it.
The fourth installment in the series left many fans disappointed. The film was criticized for its heavy use of CGI and a plot that didn't interest most viewers. Due to these reasons, the film has the lowest score of any of Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones movies. The franchise is still alive though, and we're excited to see what Indiana Jones 5 can offer when it gets released later this year. Number 9. Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas.
How dare you? Everything was going.
Sometimes, even massive Hollywood names like Brad Pitt and Michelle Pfeiffer can't save a movie from drowning. DreamWorks' Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas didn't do too poorly when it first released, with audience members actually giving a solid score to the film, which adapts a Persian fictional tale. The issue with the film was its art style and competition from other recent releases.
I was never jealous of him, though. Until one morning a ship came into
Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas failed to attract the attention of the masses as people are no longer interested in old-fashioned cartoons after the massive commercial success of the recently released Finding Nemo. Not only that, but Hulk and Pirates of the Caribbean had also recently been released, taking even more viewers away from Sinbad. As a result of the movie's box office failure, DreamWorks nearly went bankrupt and the company abandoned traditional hand-drawn films. Number 8. Terminator: Dark Fate.
I met his mother, Alicia, a few months after I killed John.
Oh, you don't get this.
The Terminator franchise is full of movies that failed to replicate the success of Terminator 2: Judgment Day. And with multiple disappointing follow-ups to Judgment Day, fans had grown tired of paying attention to new installments in the franchise that lacked the same substance the original films had. With all of that in mind, when the trailer for Dark Fate dropped and everyone saw Linda Hamilton returning as Sarah Connor, people couldn't stop themselves from getting hyped.
This will be very hard to explain to Alicia.
It's a Terminator!
That was as good as it got for yet another failed Terminator movie though. Dark Fate spent the majority of its playtime rewriting the story of the Terminator franchise, thus erasing everything that fans knew and loved about the franchise. This caused the movie to flop. Hard. So hard that we might not see another reboot for a long time. Number 7. Mars Needs Moms.
Well, you can't miss the beginning. That's when the vampires take over the submarine.
No, I know.
Disney are known as experts at producing animations that dominate the box office. A movie about a heroic 9-year-old boy who rescues his kidnapped mother from a Martian society was expected to be yet another hit in their catalog. With all of that in mind, no one expected that Mars Needs Moms would end up as a failure of epic proportions.
They were tracking me?
Not you. They were tracking whoever you were.
Mars Needs Moms was the second and final performance-captured film released under Disney's Image Movers digital studio. This facial recognition-based approach to animation was the exact reason that many people believed the movie failed. Critics and fans voiced their opinion over social media that the animation style of the movie caused characters to have unnatural facial expressions which would put people off from relating to scenes. Number 6. Lone Ranger.
Why are you talking to that horse? Why am I covered in dirt?
It's hard to imagine Disney having budget issues during the 21st century, but here we are. Lone Ranger was the company's attempt to repeat the same formula that made Pirates of the Caribbean such a success. They went as far as gathering the same trio behind Pirates: Johnny Depp, director Gore Verbinski, and producer Jerry Bruckheimer.
This is a mistake. There doesn't need to be a war. It makes no difference.
The movie's reception was lukewarm at best though. Lone Ranger had quite a few setbacks, with it nearly getting cancelled at one point due to its overinflated budget. After its lackluster opening weekend, Gore Verbinski and Jerry Bruckheimer came out and blamed critics for focusing too much on the film's production woes and bloated budget instead of its obvious qualities. The Lone Ranger's failure resulted in Disney moving away from these types of productions and pushing resources into adapting its own animated films into live action. Number 5. Solo, a Star Wars story.
This is where I sign up to be a pilot, right?
If you apply for the Imperial Navy, but most recruits don't.
Han Solo is one of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars universe, so it's a bit ironic that the spin-off film about him is the first Star Wars movie that didn't live up to its expectations. The film is a bit of a prequel, focusing on the beginnings of Solo, the smuggler who owes money to basically half of the galaxy. Although this sounds like a cool story, the film had a few mitigating factors that caused it to bomb the box office.
Yeah, I can take it off.
Fantastic.
Along with 5% off your cut.
The Solo movie was released in the middle of fan backlash after The Last Jedi, which can be attributed as the main reason for the film's lack of success. Many fans also believed that the film's quality wasn't that great anyways. Adding the fact that it had to compete with Deadpool 2 and Avengers Infinity War, it's no surprise that it ended up as the lowest grossing live-action Star Wars film. Number 4. Justice League.
My special skills include viola, web design, fluent in sign.
Sometimes a movie grossing a lot of money at the box office doesn't mean it's a success. Take Justice League for example. The film about DC's crew of renowned superheroes raked in more than $650 million, but that doesn't mean that fans of the franchise were happy with the final product they got to see.
I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice.
Justice League was notorious for the shooting being excessively chaotic, resulting in plenty of reshoots, a bloated budget, and a drastic change from the original concept. This gave fans a final product that was so underwhelming that all plans for a sequel were put to a halt. To be fair, thanks to years of protesting and petitions, we did finally get the Snyder cut of the film, or how the film was originally supposed to look, which was much more successful with both fans and critics. Number 3. The Matrix Ressurections.
I know you. Not every day you meet your maker. This can't be happening.
Considering that we live in an age where every classic movie and its brother is getting a reboot, it's not really a surprise that The Matrix got one. It really seemed like it was only a matter of time before a franchise as revolutionary as this one will receive a modern remake. And as we've seen again and again over the past decade or so, a reboot isn't always a good idea.
Made you believe their world was all you deserved. But some part of you knew that was a lie.
In the years since the original Matrix movies, Keanu Reeves had become even more of a fan favorite, so it's safe to say everyone was excited seeing him don the Neo costume for another outing. Even with him present, the movie whelmed everyone at best, with it bombing box offices and critics giving it a lukewarm response. Sadly, Resurrections didn't really hit the same spot that the original movies hit when we first watched them. Number 2. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword.
Alright, where'd you want me? Trigger. I think we got one here.
The legends surrounding King Arthur and his round table have inspired many works of art throughout the decades. So, with such an epic tale to tell, you'd imagine a film about this legendary knight couldn't possibly fail, right? Well, in that case, you'd be wrong. With a surprisingly big budget, Guy Ritchie directing, and even a brief David Beckham cameo, King Arthur Legend of the Sword bombed box offices heavily and was heavily criticized by nearly everyone who did watch the film. The main issue that many people had is that the character of Arthur got, quote, modernized, with him talking and behaving like a 21st century teenager from the London suburbs. Considering how desperate Warner were for this movie to succeed, it's unfortunate that the movie bombed. Number 1. John Carter. When you think of fantasy movies with a huge budget, you think of Pirates of the Caribbean, The Avengers, Justice League, and not John Carter. Disney had huge ambitions for this film in the early 2010s, wanting it to be their own Star Wars franchise. As such, they gave the movie a production budget of over $250 million, hired Oscar-winning director Andrew Stanton, and assembled an impressive cast. But even with all of this backing, the adaptation of Edgar Rice Burroughs' book just didn't quite cut it.
That is Jasum. You are on Barsum, John Carter.
John Carter wasn't a bad movie, even though some people feel that it was a bit bland plot-wise. The sci-fi thriller simply couldn't fill the seats at theaters and thus recouped the hundreds of millions that Disney invested into it. The movie bombed so badly that the head of Walt Disney at the time, Rich Ross, resigned and the company cancelled the planned 2 future installments. Oh and no, Disney lost an estimated $200 million due to the lack of viewership of John Carter. Thanks for watching, guys. Is there a movie that you were really hyped for but never lived up to expectations? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more trivia and lists related to pop culture. Thank you again and see you next time.